Hi, it's Dr. Michael Haley. I have an email question from one of our customers, which says, we just got our second shipment of Stockton Aloe 4-gallon bucket. When we got it, we did not have time to do the routine to get it into the 9-gallon jugs. So it sat out about 24 hours at room temperature. I drink it straight. My first gallon tasted sour compared to its normal taste. Is that normal? And is it because it sat out at room temperature? My second gallon tastes better. Well, chances are you have pretty much the same product in each bottle, but sometimes even within the same jug or the same bucket, some parts of it can be more bitter than other parts. There is this sap in the outer leaf called aloin, which is very, very bitter. And I kind of liken it to chlorine in a swimming pool. At 2 parts per million, you're barely going to notice the chlorine, but at 5 parts per million, it burns your eyes. And that's actually a very small amount in parts per million. It's the same thing with that aloin. We test usually between 2 and 6 parts per million of that aloin content. We could be a little bit less, we could be a little bit more, but that's generally where we're going to find it. And at 2 parts per million, it barely has a bitter, sour taste to it. But at 6, it's almost horrid, and we have a lot more complaints. That is not really enough to have any laxative effect or any changes to the way it's going to work in your body, but it will tremendously affect your taste buds. And it's possible even within the same bucket of aloe gel, you're tasting different amounts of that aloin concentration. But there's something else, and this is more likely the situation. We've noticed that people change, and there's certain things that we're more sensitive to when it comes to taste. Aloe seems to be one of those. It's funny, sometimes we'll have a bottle of aloe and we'll pour a taste test for 2 people. One person will drink it and go, "Oh, that's so bitter." And the next person, right next to them from the same bottle, will say, it doesn't taste like anything. I could drink this all day. It tastes like water. There has no taste in it. So how could 2 people's taste buds be so different? And then the other thing we've noticed is sometimes people will drink a bottle and say, "Oh, it's horrible," and then the next day they'll drink from the same bottle and say, "It tastes good. I don't know why it tasted so sour yesterday." We hear things like this all the time from our customers. Aloe vera seems to be one of those things that the aloe can change, the people can change, and our perception of what we're tasting can also change. Aloe, sometimes it turns pink, and then the next day it can turn back to that light green translucent color. Why does it change colors? I don't know. But it seems to be one of those things that we've had it tested. It's not bacteria increasing or decreasing or changing, but people are different. The aloe can be different. It is what it is. What we've noticed is it's very effective. You'll also notice on our sales page, we talk about the taste a lot because some people will purchase it and not like the way it tastes. Don't buy it for what it tastes like. Buy it for the results it delivers. And if you don't like the taste of it, I would recommend you add something to it to try to improve the taste. Maybe a little bit of stevia. We do test every harvest for bacteria counts. It's a raw. What's that mean? It hasn't been pasteurized. Unpreserved. What does that mean? There's no chemicals in it to kill bacteria. Just like if you went to the produce aisle in the grocery store and bought some lettuce or broccoli or onions or potatoes or anything from the produce section, guess what? It has bacteria on it. Real food that doesn't have chemicals in it and hasn't been cooked or pasteurized is going to have live bacteria on it, and so will our aloe. Just like any juice you might get from a juice bar. Live foods have living things on them and in them. Our aloe is no different. However, over time, those numbers can increase, and eventually they'll get to a point where it's no longer the aloe that you purchased because the bacteria have consumed the nutrients, which are the reason why you got it. Sometimes bacteria counts increase, and that's intentional. Like turning grape juice into wine, or cabbage into sauerkraut, or milk into yogurt or kefir, or making sour cream and cheeses. And there's things where we're culturing them, literally growing things in it to change it into something often even better for us. In the case of aloe, when the bacteria counts get that high, they're actually consuming the reason you got it, and it's not getting better. The first thing you'll notice, if you're wondering if it has changed, is usually a little bit of an effervescence. That is, when the bacteria multiply, they seem to make little gaseous bubbles, kind of like making grape juice into champagne, or kombucha will sometimes get effervescent as it ferments. Aloe vera does that, and you'll notice a little bit of a tingling on your tongue maybe when you taste it. After a couple days, the flavor really seems to change, and there's a point in time where you say, I don't want to drink this anymore. Don't let that happen. If it gets like that, it means you're either not drinking it fast enough, or you're having it in too big of a container in your refrigerator and it's in there too long. That might happen after 2 to 3 weeks. Pour it into smaller containers, refreeze them, take them out as necessary. Maybe a 7 to 10 day supply in your refrigerator is good. So getting back to this question, did the aloe spoil or change because you left it out for 24 hours? Probably not, but that's not the ideal situation. If you notice an effervescence, then more likely the bacteria counts are higher than you would want them. But even in 24 hours out of the refrigerator, probably not going to be a problem. My wife and I were melting a bottle last week. We just finished it now, and instead of 8 to 10 hours to melt in our kitchen sink, we forgot about it, and it was out for a whole day. Couldn't tell a difference in the taste or the benefit from it. It seemed to be fine after leaving it out for a whole day at room temperature and putting it in the refrigerator. It was warm. It got warm. It got room temperature. But it still seems to be every bit effective, and we consumed the entire bottle. We haven't done that in a long time. Sometimes we leave it in the refrigerator and end up with an extra bottle back there, and we kind of lost it, and then we find it a week later and start drinking it and still seem to get away with it. Sometimes it has reached that point of effervescence where we didn't want to finish the bottle because, well, one, we have more aloe where that came from, but the point being is it isn't going to harm you unless it's contaminated with pathogenic bacteria. We've tested every harvest. We've never found pathogenic bacteria in the aloe vera at Haley Nutrition. So I hope that answers a very long answer to your question, but you might have more questions. I'll find them in the comments below this video on YouTube. Hope that helps.